mentioned. But there we go, Revival bans away the Bruno as well, focusing on the bans on Pokemon. Both sides identified who to ban out in the later parts of the game. Later parts of the draft. But let's take a look at what Flash. This pick will determine how they're gonna play. They have a very strong early to mid game. They can go all the way to the late game as well because of the early to mid game priority they have with Valentina and Veramis. It's up to how they solidify this draft with a tank, and there you go, the Baxia as abstract, you mentioned this.
Yes, the Baxia is definitely something that we can work out here. The last pick, unfortunately, would not be able to contribute a lot to the lockdown, so once again, it is always in my mind, lockdown, lockdown, lockdown. Are they capable of doing that? When it comes down to split pushing and of course responding to the split pushes, I would say that the Baxia would definitely be able to play that pretty well. But you know what? That could not... It's not set in stone yet. I wouldn't say that Baxia will 100% be the jungler, although it's probably like 80% chance, right?
I would bump it up to 99% because if you take a look at Team Flash, they have the Baxia, they have the trio roaming that you set it up earlier just now, right? These three are very strong at roaming around.
Very mobile.
But at the same time, looking at Revival, these last two picks, those are big ultimates that you can give over to Valentina.
Now, looking at ultimate-wise, right? Real world manipulation, and not forget we've got the wild charge, and as well we've got the heavy spin. Quite a lot of these give space as well as lockdown, so I guess we can leave it to that. Shouldn't be too big of a problem. Flash have got one final pick that they can go with. Popple and Koopa could be something that they would want to look out for coming from Pokemon. I don't think that...
Okay. We're going back to basics, ladies and gentlemen. Pokemon decides to go back to that Beatrix.
Okay, to be fair, Renner got nerfed, right? Yeah. Renner got nerfed in terms of damage. It's a small little MM. So JAYZ showed me like this tiny little bit of gap in between. But let's be honest, I'll take that damage nerf. For the fact that you are able to hit your targets a lot more consistently. I would take consistency over burst.
That's correct. But with that said, ladies and gentlemen, looking at this draft right here, Team Flash going in for a very solid and mobile draft. Whereas on the other side, Revival, they're focusing on big team fights, stacking ultimates on top of each other to try to overwhelm Flash with brute force. But Flash does have the sustainability.
All right, as we go into Game 2, this is going to be Team Flash versus Revival. Of course, this is the first game. You talked about the draft. You talked about how, one is a little bit more mobile than the others. But going in, which won the draft?
Wow, that is understandably tough. But I would probably say that Revival's draft is actually not too shabby, right? When it comes down to the early mid-game composition, they do have Akai, Clint, and Grog that's able to deal a very good amount of damage early stages of the game. And not to forget, they have heavy amount of lockdowns, crowd control tools, and spacing tools in order to keep Pokemon at bay. So honestly, I would say that Flash, they might have a little bit of trouble when it comes down to facing off the Revival Death Ball.
I think it's interesting that this draft played out because they were like, hey, it was like a game of bluffing, right? Feramis was there, Akai, both of these 1-2 in terms of bans in the league, right? These are not really played as much, so they kind of left it open in terms of the bans of, hey, if you pick one, I'm going to pick the other one, and we're in this awkward situation now where, who kind of pulls out on top, considering the meta is actually quite high with both of these roamers.
Team Flash current composition, they do have got a lot of damage, I'm not going to lie. Looking at Valentina, the Dyrov, as well as the Beatrix, we've got damage. Reminiscent did pick up the Baxia, so he will be able to deal damage scaling off of the opponent's health, which QDX Love, LY4, and Ryan would have a lot of. Looking at the emblem as well, we understand that both of the junglers have decided to go for Demon Slayer. Nothing too out of the ordinary here, except for the fact that the only differences is the fact that Akai have decided to go for attack speed, while our Baxia have decided to go for cooldown reduction instead.
Yeah, okay. And if we're looking at the top lane, I mean, let's just look at this one. Okay, the wall's going to be used. Kayzeepi sticking around. QDX Love, again, it's more of a... Just try to... Maybe we get a pickoff. Maybe we get a little lucky. Maybe we have that sort of rotation. But they got nothing out of that. It was a little bit of wasted effort by Revival there.
Now, when it comes down to Team Flash, right, they are currently just gonna go straight in down to the bottom lane and doing a little bit of proxy, which is something that we should expect to see Ryan doing. But we can clearly see that Team Flash, they are trying to gain dominance and really just choking out the opponents. In the meantime, Alpha V9.
Alpha V9, but the heavy swing is there. He's pushing him on the side, but the real world manipulation is doing some damage, and that looks to be the Cult Altar keeping him alive, at least for now, but the turtle has been slain. Flash are looking to to just back away. Again, this is like the Marvel fight where everybody's fighting, no one's dying.
They managed to get themselves the objectives and they do not want to overextend themselves either. Both teams understand that they are just in for the objective, not necessarily for the kills. Revival's composition can allow them to go in for more damage and be a little bit more greedy if they want, though.
Okay, Revival is one of those teams that has one of the lowest number of kills in the entire league, right? Revival they're very objective focused. They seem to understand how movements are supposed to work. They're very smart with just like playing the game the way it should be played, which is objective based, right? So seeing as that they're not really prioritizing, kills in that case, and just making sure that they secure the turtle, or they try to, they're playing to their strategy. But as I say that, it looks like they're diving deep for this one. The heavy swing, just keep it Reminiscent stuck in a corner, not able to get away, and Vax is going to be down. That's going to be first blood. Live LY4 is looking to just kind of run away for here. He goes back in with a dash. Alpha V9 has been killed, and Kayzeepi is now on the run. Revival coming out on top.
One thing that I realized that I completely forgot about the fact is that A1, A2, or rather Team Flash, they focused on getting the Faramis instead. They are not exactly looking at the Yves that A1, A2 has been playing all the time. This time the A1, A2, the Yves is used by Swirled instead. And it kind of seems as though not picking the Yves may have bitten them right onto their bum.
Yeah, definitely. Eve is one of those heroes that you got to find out. You got to draw a beat on him because if he's just left alone, he's just going to do so much damage. It's one of those situations where, I mean, he's immobile. Is the team able to peel for him, try to protect him? Because if not, you got to draw a beat on him. You got to make sure that he dies, especially early.
One thing that I did miss out when it comes down to the emblem is that Alpha V9, instead of going for his Unbending Will, he decided to go for his Festival of Blood. So instead of going like super bursty, when it comes down to low HP, you bait the opponents out and destroy them. This Alpha V9 Dyrov game is a lot more about sustainability, which I definitely understand because they need that front liner, which is not necessarily Reminiscent's job. He goes in, deal damage. Yes, he can soak up a bit here and there, but his main job is really just whittle down the front lines of Revival, while Alpha V9 buys most of the time and, off chance, deals damage too.
All right, speaking of buying time, all of this in the top lane right here, they've got 3-2. They're going to dive in for this one. They go for peace, and the Cult to Altar just keeping it, the extra HP, just keeping them alive, and Revival have lost another one, but they did trade that one for the Turtle. LY4 was able to secure that, so not the worst thing in the world.
Is this really going to be it? A1, A2, wait, the burn. Okay, burn is not going to be scorching him up. The small little embers just trickling off of his coat. He's just going to pat it off. Pretty simple, no issues. Team Flash currently, they do have 600 gold on top of Revival. When we're looking at Revival's team composition, the first thing that we think of is that, yeah, they're going to play early game. But noticing their signature is that they want to play over to the late stages of the game. They don't necessarily have a lot of heroes that scales very well into the late. It's just that Esmeralda can be a lot more sustainable over to the late. While Peace, well, he's got scaling, but probably not as good as Beatrix. The main thing is that Revival wants to use their early game composition in order to keep themselves focused, disciplined, and control the state of the game in order to play towards their advantage, which is how they usually macro into the late.
You talk about it. You hit it on the nail, on the head, so to speak, with basically controlling tempo. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, both of these teams are kind of still a little bit of a skirmish. I mean, it's a net worth lead of like 0.7, right? Which is negligible at this stage. Yeah. But it's one of those situations where we don't see a huge edge. As I say that, Reminiscent just goes directly into Peace. Really no chance there. Really nice rotation by Team Flash.
Revival doesn't really have that opening that they are looking out for, even though that they have the Grok as well as the Arkai. They can actually open the maps up a little bit more and just kind of like face check into the brushes. Considering the fact that there is a Grok, you can just channel up your power, your power of nature and just run straight into brushes. I don't think that you are necessarily going to be having too much problems. Yes, you may be dropped to, what, a quarter of your health or maybe half by Pokemon if he does have Wesker on hand. But other than that, I don't think that it's going to be that big of a deal. Yeah, the start move. Oh, the Alpha V9 just dodges most of that, and they trade the turtle. It looks like Baxis will pick that one up. Reminiscent that is, so that they're in prime position. That's the second turtle. That's a pretty big one, especially at the 7-minute mark. But okay, Alpha V9 right now, he's largely been unchecked. He's 0-1-1. It's been kind of quiet. At what point do you start putting pressure on him? Well, technically speaking, when it comes down to Alpha V9, you don't necessarily want to put too much pressure on him because you would want to focus onto the the Beatrix, which is understandably going to be doing a very good time. Beatrix skills all the way from the early all the way to the late. Most of the Beatrix now plays onto Wesker and Renner. So no matter what, they have an option for front lines and the back lines. You will be able to hold on to the high ground. Alpha V9 is just going to be there soaking for damage, as well as the fact that he's going to buy a lot of time. You wouldn't want to spend too much of your resources focusing onto Alpha V9. He should be a collateral damage in most instances, and only if you find that your rotation fits the build to kill him, then go ahead. Most teams would not especially move out for the for this Dyrov.
Oh, the Shadow Stampede pulls him back, and that's going to be an easy kill. That's going up against Ryan right there. Really nice play. They've got the outer turret bottom, and Team Flash are really playing this one to the T. The strategy's been on point. Their movement, look at how much they're just zoning out, making sure that, you know, it's very difficult to even defend this one, but they've gotten turrets. Objective, objective, objective.
When it comes down to Team Flash, they can just jump right into your face thanks to the car alter. In the meantime, RWM.
Oh, A1, A2's been stuck. The real world manipulation is going to catch him out. That's going to be a nice kill by Revival. That was really well played by QDX Love, making sure that he was controlled in the right spot and where they wanted to be. Now, if we're going to look more into the middle lane, this is a bit of a push. Pokemon is now here. He's just joining the fight, and they're kind of sticking around with this mid-game fight. The heavy swing. No, I'm the panda. No, you're the panda. As they go with heavy swings, just literally knocking each other in the head right there. But A1, A2 back, and that's just going to disengage everything.
That is a true definition of wet noodle fight. You can never say anything else is a wet noodle after looking at two Archive, you know, kind of like crashing against one another, spinning top, Beyblades, if you might. For those people that doesn't know about Beyblade, you can probably want to Google that. Of course,
I know what that is.
Of course you do. If you don't, that's an issue.
We're the same age, of course. That's why I would know that. Sure. All right, but now it's going to be the Lord. Team Flash kind of zoning. QDX Love is just doing a little bit of a scouting mission, excuse me. But the Lord is continuing to be gone on. Half-Life, something to take note of. QDX Love getting very low, but they got Kayzeepi. The Cult Altar is going to be on point. Reminiscent is getting a bit low. The heavy swing is just putting him into place. Kayzeepi does go down, and LY4 is now on the run. Oh, the Star Moon Dance is going to start doing some damage. He goes right into this one. All four of them, but he looks like he's going to explode. Alpha V9 will secure that one. The Lord has been reset. Alpha V9 is going to be solo. He does get killed. LY4 gets that kill. A1, A2 is now on the run. Peace flickers over the wall, secures that one.
Whoa, man, oh man, Revival played that to the T. They ensured that they are able to take control of their fight throughout the entire time, and I gotta have to say, it is very likely going to be the slow coming in from Swirled that allowed them to control the opponent's movements down to shackling their legs, right? The opponents, Team Flash, they couldn't run much anywhere. They allowed LY4 to disengage himself and then re-engage again in order for him to get himself in a better control. Yes, he went in with the heavy spin. No one followed up onto Reminiscent, but we should definitely not forget about the fact that Alpha V9 can deal a mean damage onto Revival, which, yes, is quite an impact, but it doesn't seem to be enough.
Like, you're starting to feel it, right? From last week to this week, Revival just making sure that they're making smart plays. Like, they have a lead in this game. This is one of those things where we're really starting to see this uptick of Revival just being able to play and to kind of, you know, to force their will onto the enemy team. They're just in a great position. They understand how the movements are working. This is a team on the rise, and I think, you know, if you're Team Resurgence or, you know, Slates, I think that you do need to be careful about Team Revival moving into this league.
Here's one thing why I really love about about Beatrix, is that whatever weapon that she is using, you can tell what the team is trying to do. The last I saw was a Bennett, so very likely they're trying to go for a defensive.
The heavy swing pushes Reminiscent all the way back, and he realizes that he's stuck in the wrong side of this one. Kayzeepi and A1, A2 just need to get out of there. Not able to do it. He does go down. Ryan is a little bit low, but Revival taking 2 kills as well as the outer turret.
You're gonna have to be careful about the Bennett's range.
But the charge is on point. Kayzeepi, he does get that 3-man knockup, but Kayzeepi is running for his life. Ryan is making a beeline for him. Kayzeepi, is he able to chase him? No, he's not. This is going to be the great escape if he can get away from this one. Kayzeepi is continuing to be chased. Ryan is not letting him go, and I feel like he's got the police siren because it's like, wee, woo, wee, woo, trying to get him.
Boom, boom, pow. No way that Kayzeepi.
Oh, the jukes are real.
No
Kayzeepi, though,
way.
looking off his time, he will though go down in the end, and Ryan will secure that one in the end.
I mean, he did manage to buy a lot of time for his fellow team, right? We're talking about Mega Creeps just stomping and marching through this island. And just because of a single Valentina, it just stopped the momentum coming in from Ryan. I guess that was just, he's itching for blood. He smelled the blood and it's just crawling time and time again. But it doesn't seem like it was the right play, I suppose. It seems as though Revival could have gotten a lot more out of that push, even to the point of bringing down the inhibitor turret in the middle.
Yeah, I wonder if he didn't go after Kayzeepi, if they continued to just group up and just push the mid, if they could have been a little bit more damage to that inhibitor turret mid. Because it's about half-life. Maybe that could have been enough to sway. So not the worst thing in the world, but Kayzeepi, the funny thing is that if you're running away for your life, and that's like the best play of the game, I think you're in a bad situation.
Well, to be fair, Kayzeepi was kind of met with the dead end right by the dark alleys, right? There's really nothing much you can do. The best you can do is just buy as much time as possible, which technically he did his job.
Oh, the heavy swing, locking in Reminiscent, but QDX Love, now Kayzeepi stole it, but he does go down. LY4 is on the run, he's very low, he's going to be focused here. They do get the pullback, the Occult Altar is going to be used. Alpha V9 continuing to go in, the Lord is actually doing some damage as well. Alpha V9 has been killed, A1, A2 is looking to run right now. He does get bursted, QDX Love will secure that one, and they start this one off again. QDX Love continuing in, but a little too far, too deep, and Pokemon will make him pay.
Wesker doing Wesker things. At this point in time, we can pretty much tell that Revival, they are getting skilling. And the skilling comes in forms of defensive matches. QDX Love, LY4, and Ryan, they are all just so sustainable and so tanky. While Team Flash, they just don't necessarily have the damage output to deal enough damage to whittle all of them down. They can have Alpha V9 focus on one or a couple of person, but the main thing is that his ultimate gotta hit more than one.
Oh, the Falling Star Moon, they're going to continue. Reminiscent will secure the Lord. That's a huge win for them. They're going to back off. And I thought that was actually risky because I thought Revival had an advantage. They had numbers, but they were like, no, we're going to reset. We're not going to take the Lord. We're going to go back into it. And in that tiny bit of like a window that they had, Team Flash took the Lord and made sure that they secured it. Very smart play by Team Flash. They needed that win.
That was definitely a huge gamble, considering the fact that Team Flash would lose in the Retribution battle. LI4 was level 15, while Reminiscent was level 14. Just from Retribution levels, Reminiscent will lose. But Team Flash, they still stuck to it anyway, and they still want to get that money. The Lord marches down to the bottom lane, and Team Flash focuses most of their resources in the middle lane, allowing Pokemon to snipe down the first tier defense turret in the middle lane, while the rest of the members have decided to put themselves at the lower quadrants of Revival's jungle, asserting so much dominance, not allowing Revival to branch out and take advantage of Flash's overextension position.
The Lord here is going to be taking down Revival. Yes, they did defend, but they lost almost all of their outer turrets, the inner ones as well. So this is one of the situations where, yeah, they gave up the Lord, and Team Flash is back into it, but this net worth lead, it was a close to, I think, 4 or 5K lead, now it's dropped to about 2K. This is something that they need to be worried about. Revival are maybe throwing that lead away?
Well, not necessarily. At this point in time, I wouldn't say that the skilling is going to be too important. It all boils down to execution. Which team is able to play it well? Because we gotta have to identify what all of these teams needs to do, right? Revival, they have a lot locked down onto their hands. They need to open up space in order for Peace to hang in the center of the grid and just blast off against Team Flash. Because his front lines can stay on for as long as they want. Looking at Esmeralda probably won't die unless Alpha V9 went straight for him with the Abyssal Strikes. Now, for Team Flash, whatever that they want to do is that they want to make full use of the Occult Altar and just rush straight into the face of Swirled as well as Peace. Essentially a death ball composition. Alpha V9 needs to understand who is going to be his #1 priority, and Pokemon would definitely want to put himself either in Nibiru or put himself onto Wesker. The burst potential is something that you would need in order to bring down the back lines and then eventually translate it over to the front.
So that's the game plan of Team Flash, right? It's to basically focus on the squishies. LY4 from Team Revival needs to ensure that his team is protected.
Yes.
He needs to be the big brother, making sure that nobody comes in. All of those are protected. Because if you look at Peace, 7-2-4, right? Swirled, 1-0-12. He's been not able to be killed because he's all the way in the back just using his real-world manipulation, making sure that he's zoning out everybody else. So they played that one pretty well. Now, Team Flash must figure out a way to get into them. I don't know if they have the right initiation to go do this, because they're like one of those death ball teams that just come right at you. There's no real flanking. Yeah, you have your shield up or whatever, but at the end of the day, you see it coming towards you.
With the win condition in check for both of these teams, it will we will be able to just kind of like translate it over to the key victory for Revival, as to use LY4 to bait out the members from Team Flash. But unfortunately, right before the main fight starts, Pokemon goes straight down.
That's going to be a huge one. He's down for 40 seconds. Reminiscent now is on the run, but Team Flash are like, do we fight this one? They're sticking around with 4 versus 5. Cult Altar is going to be used, but Reminiscent, I think, is going to be left for dead. He looks like he's going to die twice. He is a Gemini. He's going to be gone, and A1, A2 is back to safety. And they're going to try to defend this inhibitor turret, but, you know, Revival back into it. And Kayzeepi, real-world manipulation, that should be the end of that one. A1, A2 is out of the zone, but they do get Kayzeepi, so it's not the end. Alpha V9 does fall next, and it looks like A1, A2 is going to be next, and that looks to be the base right there. And very well played by Team Revival, just completely turning that one around. I mean, it's super smart in terms of how they play that one out. 20-7, they're going to win game 1.
Well, Team Revival, they have played this game down to the T, and of course, yes, we have managed to see some ups and downs. And speaking of ups